What's going on, guys? Griffin here, and today we are going to be talking about Battlefield 5. I'm going to go into my general impressions on this game as well as my thoughts on the controversy surrounding EA's announcement of Battlefield 5 in terms of the authenticity of this World War II experience. Now, I want to make something abundantly clear here. I'm going to be going into both sides of this argument, so please watch till the end of the video if you're going to leave some idiotic comment trying to call me out for my point of view on this game. So just watch through to the end. Don't look like a complete fool and don't embarrass yourself. So let's go ahead and get into this. So first off, my thoughts on this trailer. I thought it was kind of boring. I mean, it's that typical kind of Battlefield CGI where they try to hype up the multiplayer to look like this really epic cinematic experience. We all know it's not going to happen like this. You know you're going to spawn and get instantly sniped by some dude 300 yards away or something. So this is not what Battlefield multiplayer looks like. DICE does a really good job hyping it up to make it look like this was actual multiplayer footage. It was not. It was heavily scripted. I have never played Battlefield and had it turn out like that. So I think it's stupid to try to claim like, yeah, that was actual gameplay footage. So all the people out there trying to say like, oh wow, look how great that multiplayer footage looked. That's not how it's going to look, okay? It is going to look and play extremely differently. That was highly scripted. I don't think anybody with a sound mind would try to deny that. So overall, I thought the trailer was kind of boring. I'm not really interested in this. It looks like a reskin of Battlefield 1 just with World War II guns. And I think it's no secret at this point, especially if you watch my videos and my content in the past, I'm not a fan of Battlefield 1. I think this screenshot of my stats in Battlefield 1 kind of speaks for itself. As you guys can see, I have a little over 6 hours in the game, and that includes sitting in menus and waiting for the game to install. So yeah, not a big Battlefield 1 fan. I actually paid $80 for the early enlister edition, and I put it in, and I was just instantly bored. So not a fan of Battlefield 1, so I'm not really looking forward to Battlefield 5 or whatever. So I was more hoping for a modern Battlefield experience. That's enough about me, though, so let's go ahead and get into the general consensus here in terms of people who are watching this trailer. As you guys can see, as time progresses, it seems like this Battlefield trailer is slowly closing the gap closer and closer between likes and dislikes. The dislikes have almost overtaken the likes at this point, and it looks like the dislikes are growing at a faster pace. So I think it's very safe to say at this point, like, this is a very polarizing game. There are people who love it, and there are people who hate it, and I do not think there are many people in the middle when it comes to this argument. So this is very interesting to watch, and I think it's safe to say at this point, like, most of the controversy comes from the question of whether or not Battlefield 5 is an agenda-pushing SJW title. That is what the group who hates this game is claiming. They're claiming that Battlefield 5, by having a female as the main character in the campaign, is downplaying the role that men had during World War II, which, I mean, I can understand kind of where they're coming from if you look at this with no context, and I can also understand where people are coming from when they think this is the dumbest thing they've ever heard. It's petty, and it's getting upset over absolutely nothing. So I understand both sides of the argument here. I don't think anybody with a basic understanding of World War II history would deny that men made up the vast majority of combatants on the battlefield, and over 99% of casualties on battlefields were actually men. So I don't think many people out there would deny that, especially if you have any sort of basic understanding of that time period, because let's face it, during that time period, women were not allowed to even join the military in combat roles. They were not permitted to join the military at all in some cases, especially in countries like England and the US during that time period and most of Europe. It was completely unheard of. The military was for men, and that's how it was during that time period. But at the same time, you did have resistance fighters who were female in some of the countries that were occupied by Nazi Germany, or in the case of Soviet Russia, which, I mean, Soviet Russia, they threw literally everyone at the Nazis. Like, they had the policy of like 2 men for every gun. They would send people out there with pitchforks just to act as bullet sponges. They had people standing behind like the front line, who if the front line started a retreat, they would gun them down to discourage retreat. I mean, the Soviets were absolutely crazy. They were all about victory no matter the cost. So I can understand where people who are upset about this are coming from if they have zero context, especially if you just look at this on the surface and think like, oh, wow, she's in the British Army or something like that, and she's a woman. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. I can understand why people are pissed off about that. But if you actually have the context, okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense, especially given the fact that I think she's in Norway and she is a resistance fighter. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But something interesting that DICE actually came out and said, which I think is adding more fuel to the fire at this point, and I think did more harm than good. But they basically came out and said, we'll always put fun over authentic. We want to empower player choice, diversity, and inclusion. And that has made people think, okay, yeah, this is an SJW game confirmed. They are pushing an agenda here for inclusion, diversity, and everything that goes along with that. To which I honestly cannot help but agree with, because in their own words, they admit they are pushing an agenda through this game, which if you're not a believer or a supporter in that kind of mindset where you want to be force-fed and force this whole diversity narrative and inclusion narrative, and you were looking forward to this installment in your favorite franchise, now all of a sudden they're politicizing that, I can understand why people are mad, especially if it doesn't line up with your core beliefs. So yeah, I can understand why people are mad about that. In their own words, they admit they are pushing an agenda with Battlefield 5. So that is a completely warranted complaint, in my opinion. I'm not even saying I agree or disagree with this mentality. I'm basically just saying, like, yeah, I get where people are coming from with this complaint. But something else that's kind of interesting with this too is the comment section on that Battlefield 5 trailer is absolutely hilarious. Like, there are some funny ass comments in here. So I found some on Twitter, and I went and found some in the comment section myself. Now, the funny thing is here is DICE or EA, whoever's in charge of the YouTube channel, is actually going through and deleting these comments. Like, some of these are getting 600 plus likes. I've seen some as much as 1,000 in a matter of minutes. Like, people are going crazy in this comment section. So if you have some free time, definitely go check it out. It will give you a great laugh. But generally, these comments are overwhelmingly negative. So I've actually picked out some that I'm going to read for you guys here just to kind of give you an idea of what the major complaints are with this game, because I think it offers some insight as to why people are really pissed off. Wow, they have a disabled ginger woman as the main character. EA is woke AF. This is it, folks. This is the video game equivalent of The Last Jedi. I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait to experience World War II as a disabled lesbian. That's one of the ones I was talking about that has over 600 likes. That one did get deleted a couple minutes later. I was actually lucky enough to find this on Twitter. I smell liberal agendas. Keep up with the dislikes, guys. Let them know. How to forget when the black Nazis reign and the British female robot katana wielders won Europe back. I remember the brave female British soldiers who died in World War II on the front lines. Oh, wait. I love hearing war stories from my great-grandma. Thank God for her service. For those wondering why a lot of Battlefield vets are hating on this game, they were marketing the game like it was some gritty World War II experience. This is what we got. Women on the front lines, blue face-painted warriors, super fast tanks, claw hands. This is not Battlefield. If only there was a way I could dislike this video more. 133 picks up a live grenade, throws it into the air, drop shot hip fires the grenade, explodes and destroys a plane. What the fuck is this?
Launching grenade! I got you back!
Wow, I remember Granddad telling me the stories of fighting black Jewish Nazis with his squad of katana-wielding half-robot women. Great job, respect to veterans. The main villain of this game will be the patriarchy. British female with a metal arm wielding a cricket bat in World War II. And that is just some of the wonderful comments that I found on that video. I mean, some of these are absolutely hilarious. I give them applause for their creativity. But what's really interesting is EA is going in and deleting all these comments. Like, 1 minute you'll see it at the top, and then it's completely gone, and the comment section is filled with people saying, like, yeah, my comment got deleted, I can't find it anymore. I click on the replies and nothing pops up. So they're actively deleting these comments of people trashing the game or bringing up their complaints or just making some funny jokes. Like, I really don't think a lot of people are being serious here. Like the whole black female Nazi thing, that was the meme from Call of Duty World War II in terms of the multiplayer for that game. So I think this is just adding more fuel to the fire at this point. Like, EA going in and actively deleting these comments only incites these guys even more to go out of their way to trash this game and show their disapproval. So I don't know. It's just a vicious cycle at this point. They are feeding the trolls and just playing right into their hands because trolls want nothing more than to bring down the target they go after. So I think these comments are funny. And the interesting thing here is when you read these comments, the thing you can kind of take away mainly is that people are generally just not happy about the fact that this game has a main character who is a female that you play as in the campaign. I think if this game didn't have her in there, a lot of people wouldn't even be complaining about this game. But a lot of people are pissed off about this. I honestly don't give a shit because Battlefield has never really been about the campaign to me. I don't think I've ever actually beaten a Battlefield campaign now that I think about it, except for Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2. But overall, I don't really play Battlefield for the campaign. I play it for the multiplayer. And plus, the other thing people are forgetting is this is another scenario where Battlefield is doing their war story style campaign again like they did in Battlefield 1, where you play as a bunch of different people. So this woman, you don't even play as her throughout the entire campaign. It's just a short mission. So people are really honestly overhyping this, in my opinion, and placing way too much importance on this. But the one thing I will agree with them on in terms of this female character is I can completely agree. That prosthetic arm is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It does not belong in a World War II style game. If you had that type of injury, you would not be allowed on the field, much less handling a gun, because you could not handle the recoil of a World War II gun, especially a fully automatic one with a prosthetic arm. And I mean, to see her in the trailer basically doing the same stuff in terms of firing weapons, beating someone over the head with a cricket bat, I mean, just some crazy stuff while having a prosthetic arm that's literally shaped like a claw. It's completely immersion breaking and it just feels like it doesn't belong. So I completely agree. But other than that one complaint, I could honestly not care less about having to play as a female character in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is really not even something that I would even consider in deciding whether or not to purchase or not purchase this game, especially due to the fact that you're only going to be playing as her in one campaign mission, and in a campaign that most likely 90% of people who actually pick up this game will never actually complete. So this is something so insignificant and unimportant at the end of the day. I think it's getting blown way out of proportion. I don't like this game for many other reasons that do not even closely revolve around this non-issue, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and get into whether or not I'm planning on picking up Battlefield 5. Now, I'm going to be honest here, I didn't watch the reveal event. I turned it on for I think about 5 minutes max, and when I heard them mention World War II, I instantly turned it off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not interested, because I knew right off the bat it was going to be a Battlefield 1 clone. It was just going to be set in World War II in terms of the setting, and the weapons would be changed. I figured the game would play the exact same, and after watching the trailer, I can basically draw the assumption that it's going to be almost an identical experience to Battlefield 1, a game that I personally did not like, and like I showed you guys before, I was definitely not the biggest fan of Battlefield 1. The game was just overall very boring to me, so I am not interested in Battlefield 5. It's not my type of game. I'm generally not a big World War II shooter fan. I really just got burnt out on those games, especially during the PS2 era and early Xbox 360 and PS3 era. Like, World War II to me has been done to death at this point, and I honestly don't want to play any more historic shooters. I'm much more of a fan of modern day shooters like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, even like Battlefield 3 and 4. Like, those games are my favorite in the Battlefield series. I know a lot of people love Bad Company. That's not even so bad. But World War I, World War II, that's too far in the past. I am not a fan of those type of games. So right when they said that, it completely lost me. Just like Call of Duty World War II did not interest me in the slightest. I'm just not a fan of those guns. I'm just not a fan of playing games during that time period. It is not my thing, and the second they announced that setting or time period, I just completely lost interest. I'm going to be completely honest. I was really hoping for a modern-day Battlefield experience, especially since Call of Duty has been going further and further into the future. Black Ops 4 this year, I think, is considered to be near future, but it's still pretty futuristic looking, especially compared to the Modern Warfare series. So I was actually really hoping Battlefield would come out with another modern-day shooter, but that was not the case. So that kind of lost my interest right there. But that's the main reasons why I'm not interested in this game. I never saw the cover art. I never saw this female character. I didn't even see the reveal trailer to decide whether or not I was going to buy this game. I made my decision basically solely off the fact that this was a World War II shooter. It wasn't until hours after the fact when I actually saw the cover art and watched the trailer that I even knew about the female kind of controversy surrounding this game. So I drew my decision well before I actually even knew about that. So honestly, it had no impact on my decision whether or not to buy the game. And then after watching the gameplay trailer and everything, it basically just confirmed my kind of suspicions and worries about this game being a Battlefield 1 clone. So that was the main thing in my purchasing decision, was the setting and time period that this game would take place and its similarity to Battlefield 1. Nothing to do with the one campaign mission where you play as a female with a prosthetic arm that looks like it came out of a steampunk movie. Nothing like that in the slightest. That honestly has no impact on my purchasing decision, because even if I had decided to pick up this game, I probably would have never touched the campaign, to be honest. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest. So in conclusion, I really just don't think this is that big of a deal. DICE came out and said they wanted to give a different perspective on World War II from what we have seen in the past in terms of World War II media, including games, movies, TV shows, you name it. So whatever, they're trying to tap into an underserved market and kind of just tell a story that has never been told before from that perspective. So I guess I can kind of respect them for that. They're doing something different, but at the same time, they are admitting they're pushing an agenda with this game. So if you don't support the game based off of that, like you don't want to support a game that goes against your political views and they're basically force feeding you their narrative and agenda, I 100% support you. I mean, I wouldn't go out and watch political propaganda for people I don't support and don't agree with. So that makes complete sense to me. So if you're not buying it for that reason, I completely understand. But people who are overhyping this, saying like, oh, it's because it's got a female in the campaign, I think that's honestly really stupid. I mean, who the hell buys Battlefield for the campaign? Answer that honestly, and I think you will have no problems with it. So I think a lot of people like to draw up an issue where there is no issue, but at the same time, I do understand where some of the more valid complaints are coming from. I won't be buying this game, and it's like I always say, if you don't like something, don't buy it. Nobody's forcing you to buy it. Guess what? Speak with your wallet. If you don't like what DICE is doing, don't buy the game. And if the game doesn't do well, they will listen next time and change it in order to make as much money as possible. Because at the end of the day, they are a business, and that is all that matters to them, is turning a profit, especially with EA as their publisher. If something does not work, EA will make sure they can make as much money as possible next time. That is their sole purpose for existence. But that is my thoughts on Battlefield 5. I will not be picking up the game. The World War II setting kind of killed it for me. Nothing to do with the actual campaign controversy. But let me know your thoughts on the game. Are you planning on picking it up? Are you going to pass on it? Are you getting COD Black Ops 4 instead, like myself? Are you just excited for Red Dead Redemption 2 and you're going to skip Battlefield and Call of Duty this year? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and click the bell for notifications so you're notified every single time I upload a new video. Also, follow me on Twitter at Griffin_gaming. That is by far the best place to interact with me, and you will hear my opinions on almost everything much faster than I can actually get out a video. So if you guys want to keep up to date on my thoughts on all things gaming, or you just want to talk to me or whatever, that's the best way to interact with me. Go follow me on Twitter at Griffin_gaming, or click the link in the description below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.